We live in a dual universe. It has darkness, it has evil, it has the yang, but the universe also contains the light, the good, the yin. We live in a neutral universe, which is made good or bad through our belief regarding it. Greetings mortals, and a capital day to you all. I'm your host Simon, as usual. Welcome back to the Library of Gnosis. Privacy matters. Get NordVPN. Link in the description. As I mentioned in my previous video on Saturn as Satan, card up top, as that video will be important to understand this one. In that video I explained the cube of Saturn and its connection to what the Bible refers to as Satan, which is a Hebrew title for opposer. But in Judaic religion there is also another cube referenced. This is known as Metatron's cube. Metatron is an angel in Judaism mentioned 3 times in the Bible, in a few brief passages in the Agada, and in mystical Kabbalistic texts within rabbinic literature. The figure forms one of the traces for the presence of a dualistic proclivities in the otherwise monotheistic visions of both the Tanka and the later Christian doctrine. The name Metatron is not mentioned in the Torah nor the Bible, and how the name originated is a matter of debate. In Islamic tradition, he is also known as Metatron, the angel of the veil. In folkloric tradition, he is the highest of the angels and serves as the celestial scribe or recording angel. In Jewish Apocrypha and early Kabbalah, Metatron is the name that Enoch received after his transformation into an angel. Charles Mopsek believes that the name Metatron may be related to the sentence from Genesis 5:24. Quote, Enoch walked with God, then he was no more, because God took him. End quote. Metatron says, He, the Holy One, called me, the lesser Yahweh, in the presence of his whole household in the height. As it is written, my name is in him. 12:5, Alexander's translation. The narrator of this book, supposedly Rabbi Ishmael, tells how Metatron guided him through heaven and explained his wonders. 3 Enoch presents Metatron in 2 ways, as a primordial angel and as a transformation of Enoch after he was assumed into heaven. This Enoch, whose flesh was turned to flame, his veins to fire, his eyelashes to flashes of lightning, his eyeballs to flaming torches, and whom God placed on a throne next to the throne of glory, received after this heavenly transformation the name Metatron. Metatron, the youth, a title previously used in 3 Enoch, where it appears to mean servant. It identifies him as the angel that led the people of Israel through the wilderness after their exodus from Egypt, and describes him as a heavenly priest. In later ecstatic Kabbalah, Metatron is a messianic figure. The Zohar describes Metatron as the king of the angels, and associates the concept of Metatron with that of the divine name Shaddai. Zohar commentaries such as the Ohir Yakar by Moses ben Jacob Cordovero explain the Zohar as meaning that Metatron as the head of Yetzirah. This corresponds closely with Maimonides' description of the Talmudic prince of the world, traditionally associated with Metatron as the core active intellect. Now, how do I start explaining this? I'll just give you the facts and we'll put this puzzle together. Well, together. I think a good place to start is by looking at the different titles given to Metatron, like for example, the Lord of the Veil. Saturn himself was represented as veiled, involutus, as for example in a wall painting from Pompeii that shows him holding a sickle and covered with a white veil, as I mentioned in my previous video. But whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:16. The second title that Metatron has is the Prince of the World. This is also a title given to Satan in John 12:31. Now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of this world will be driven out. Metatron is described as the Scribe of the gods. This is the same title that is given to Thoth, who is also known as the Scribe of the gods. Consequently, Thoth gradually became seen as a god of the measurements and regulation of events and of time. He was thus said to be the secretary and counselor of the sun god Ra, and with Ma'at, truth, order, stood next to Ra on the nightly voyage across the sky. Speculative, this can represent the mind, body, and spirit. Satan, also known as the devil, and sometimes also called Lucifer in Christianity, is an entity in the Abrahamic religions that seduces humans into sin or falsehood. In Judaism, Satan is seen as an agent subservient to Yahweh, typically regarded as a metaphor for the Yetzer Hara, or evil inclination. In Christianity and Islam, he is usually seen as a fallen angel who has rebelled against God, who, nevertheless, allows him temporary power over the fallen world and a host of demons. In the Quran, Shaitan, also known as Iblis, is an entity made of fire who was cast out of heaven because he refused to bow before the newly created Adam, and incites humans to sin by infecting their minds with waswas, evil suggestions. In the story of the four who entered Paradise, it says that Elisha ben Aboyua saw Metatron the angel sitting and therefore became a heretic. In order to show Elisha that Metatron is not an independent power, the angel was given 60 lashes of fire by God. This so-called fall of Lucifer is known as the Lucifer Experiment. Well, who better for the task of testing humanity with the taste of evil than he who hates evil? For Lucifer is still subservient to God, no matter how fooled the elites have gotten by Saturn. Remember that Hermes or Thoth was known as the divine trickster. I form the light and create darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things. Isaiah 45:7. We have currently entered the age of Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is also exalted in Libra, which is the zodiac sign that symbolizes justice. You sharpen your blade on a whetstone, and coal becomes diamond under pressure. And we are carbon-12 based life forms, which are made up of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. This calls for wisdom. Let the person who has insight calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. That number is 666. Revelation 13:18. Metatron is the highest of the archangels and has 2 very important functions. Metatron's first function is that he sits at the base of the tree of life, and Archangel Sandalphon sits at the top. Though not explicitly referenced in scripture, some of the earliest sources on Sandalphon refers to him as the prophet Elijah who transfigured and risen to angelic status. Other sources, mainly from the Mithraic period, describe him as the twin brother of Metatron, whose human origin as Enoch was similar to the human origin of Sandalphon. The name Sandalphon, which may be related to the Hebrew Sandek, Godfather, thereby corresponding to the tradition of a station held by Elijah with regarding to evocation of the prophet in his capacity being protector of unborn children, may also be derived from the Greek prefix sin, meaning together, and aldapios, meaning brother, thus approximately meaning co-brother. Since the modern Greek word for co-worker, Sindalphos, has these roots as seen in the book of Revelation, chapter 19, verse 10. This probably refers to Sandalphon's relation to Metatron. Physical descriptions of Sandalphon vary depending on the sources. He is uniformly depicted as extremely tall. During Moses' visit to the third heaven, he is said to have glimpsed Sandalphon and called him the tall angel. Though this legend dates to much later than the times of the Torah. The Babylonian Talmud Hagig 13b says Sandalphon's head reaches heaven, which is also said of Israel and of the Greek monster Typhon, with whom Sandalphon seems to have similar mythological roots. He is also described as being a member of the Saraim, Hebrew for princess, and Hassan, master of heavenly song. In the greater key of Solomon, Sandalphon is designated the left-hand feminine cherub of the Ark of the Covenant. In the liturgy of Sukkoth, he described with gathering the prayers of the faithful, making a garland, a sort of knot of such prayers, and then adjuring them to ascend as an orb to the Supreme King of Kings. In the Zohar, he is chief of the seventh heaven. As Michael does, he carries on a ceaseless battle with Samael, perhaps Satan, angel of evil. Funny how close veil and evil are as words. The ancient sages also referred to him by the name Ufan, wheel, a reference to the wheel within the wheel from Ezekiel's vision of the heavenly chariot in the book of Ezekiel. Sandalphon is also said to be instrumental in bringing about the differentiation of sex in the embryo. Ibn Hazm mentions Sandalphon as an angel who serves the crown. He discusses that Jews, although regarding Metatron as an angel, would celebrate Metatron as a lesser god 10 days each year, probably a reference to Rosh Hashanah in connection with Merkaba mysticism that Metatron took part in the creation of the world. In Kabbalah, Sandalphon is the angel who represents the Sephira Malkut and overlaps or is confused with the angel of Metatron. He is said to appear before the feminine presence of the Shekinah and to receive human prayers and to send them to God. This was also the role of Hermes in Greek mythology, as a messenger between mortals and the gods. There are 78 straight lines in Metatron's cube. Using numerology, we add together 7 plus 8, which equals 15, then 1 plus 5, which equals 6, and we are back to the connection with the cube of Saturn again. The cube of Saturn is the dark mirror image of Metatron's cube, at the very least. Now, in my last video, I said I was going to cover the squaring of the circle and how it relates to Metatron's cube and Saturn's cube. But as I want to post videos at a more regular interval, I have decided to split this video up into multiple parts. And also, titles can only be so long, and if I decided to cover all of this in one video, I would honestly have no clue what to name it. Thank you for listening. See you in the next one, mortals.
Remember to hit that bell button to stay notified. Subscribe for more Red Pill content. Do give it a like if you enjoyed it, and feel free to share it. If you want to support my work, you can find me on Patreon at Library of Gnosis. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Bitchute at Library of Gnosis. The audio versions of my broadcasts are available on Spotify as a podcast at Library of Gnosis. Music is produced by Coda.